The storm had already chased most people off the road. The highway was nearly empty. The rain was hitting the windshield like thousands of tiny stones, and the dark clouds above made the entire countryside look abandoned. Most drivers would have kept going. Most people would have looked straight ahead and ignored everything around them. But Captain Jake Harrison was never like most people. After 20 years as a Navy SEAL, Jake had learned one thing that stayed with him long after he left the battlefield. The smallest details often revealed the biggest problems. A person standing too still. A light flashing where it shouldn't. A sound that didn't belong. And that night, somewhere along a forgotten country road, Jake noticed something that almost everyone else missed. A small cardboard sign. It was old, soaked from the rain, and barely hanging onto a broken wooden fence. The words were written with a black marker, slightly faded from the weather. Dog, $10. Needs a home. Jake slowed his truck. For a moment, he almost kept driving. He had a long day behind him. He was exhausted. He had planned to get home, make a cup of coffee, and spend the night in silence. But something about that sign bothered him. A dog being sold for $10 wasn't unusual, but leaving a sign outside in the middle of a storm? That felt different. Jake turned the truck around. He drove down the muddy driveway toward an old farmhouse hidden behind tall trees. The house looked like it had been forgotten by time. The paint was peeling away, the porch boards were cracked, and one window was covered with a piece of cardboard instead of glass. He stepped out of his truck and walked toward the porch. "Hello," Jake called. No answer, only the sound of rain. Then he heard something. A quiet whimper. Not from inside the house. From underneath the porch. Jake moved closer and looked down. That was when he froze. A small brown dog was lying there, protecting something with his body. At first, Jake thought it was just a blanket. Then the blanket moved. A little boy slowly opened his eyes. He looked scared. Not the kind of scared that came from a storm. The kind of scared that came from not knowing if anyone was coming to help. Jake immediately stepped back and lowered himself to the ground. "Hey," he said softly. "I'm not here to hurt you." The boy stared at him. The dog stood up and placed himself between Jake and the child. Even though the dog was thin and tired, he was still trying to protect him. Jake noticed that immediately. "Good dog," Jake whispered. The boy hugged the dog. "His name is Buddy." Jake smiled slightly. "Buddy seems like a good friend." The boy nodded. "He's my best friend." A few seconds later, a teenage girl appeared from behind the house. She looked exhausted. She was wearing an old jacket that was too big for her, and she had the expression of someone who had been forced to grow up much faster than she should have. "Ethan," she said quietly. "Who is he?" The boy looked at her. He saw the sign. The girl's face changed. She looked embarrassed. "We weren't trying to trick anyone," she said quickly. We didn't know what else to do." Jake stood up slowly. "I'm not accusing you of anything." The girl looked away. Her name was Lily. She told Jake the truth. Their mother had passed away after a long illness. Their father had disappeared months later, leaving behind unpaid bills and a house that was falling apart. At first, neighbors helped. Someone brought food. Someone helped fix the heater. Someone promised they would check on them. But slowly, everyone became busy. The visits stopped. The phone calls stopped. And eventually, the children learned what it felt like to be forgotten. Lily had tried to keep everything together. She cooked meals. She helped Ethan with school. She repaired things around the house. But there was only so much a 16-year-old could handle. Then one day, she realized they couldn't afford to feed Buddy anymore. That was when she made the sign. Jake looked at her. "You were trying to find him a home?" Lily nodded. "He deserves better." Jake looked at Buddy. The dog was sitting beside Ethan, watching him carefully. "He looks like he already found his home." Lily smiled sadly. "He stayed with us when everyone else left." That sentence stayed with Jake. Because he understood loyalty. He had spent his entire adult life surrounded by people who depended on each other. In the military, you didn't leave someone behind. Not ever. And standing there in front of that broken farmhouse, Jake realized these kids had been left behind by the world. He reached into his pocket and pulled out his wallet. He removed a $10 bill. Lily looked confused. You don't have to. Jake placed it gently in her hand. I'm buying the dog. Her eyes widened. Jake smiled. But not because I want to take him. He looked at Ethan. I'm buying him because I want to know his story. That night, Jake learned more. He learned Ethan still kept his mother's old photo beside his bed. He learned Lily secretly cried at night because she didn't want Ethan to know how scared she was. He learned they had been pretending to be okay because they didn't want anyone to worry. Jake had seen courage in many forms during his life. But this was different. This was a quiet kind of courage. The kind nobody applauds. The kind nobody gives medals for. The next morning, Jake made a decision. He wasn't going to simply give them money and walk away. He was going to help them rebuild. He contacted people who could help repair the house. He filled the empty refrigerator. He made sure Ethan had proper school supplies. He took Buddy to the veterinarian and discovered the dog was healthier than expected because Lily and Ethan had always saved their own food before letting Buddy go hungry. The veterinarian looked at Jake and said something he never forgot. That dog didn't survive because someone saved him. Jake looked confused. The vet smiled. He survived because those kids loved him. Over the next several months, something incredible happened. The abandoned farmhouse slowly became a home again. The broken windows were replaced. The damaged roof was repaired. The empty rooms filled with laughter. And for the first time in years, Ethan and Lily felt safe. But Jake didn't realize something. While he thought he was saving them, they were saving him too. After leaving the military, Jake had struggled with the quiet. For years, every day had a purpose. Every mission had a goal. Every person had a role. Then suddenly, everything stopped. He had medals. He had memories. But he felt like something was missing. Until he met a boy, a girl, and a dog standing beside a $10 sign. They gave him a reason to come back tomorrow. 1 year later, the farmhouse looked completely different. The yard was green. The porch was repaired. Buddy was running through the grass like a puppy again. Ethan, now doing better in school, ran outside holding a piece of cardboard. Jake looked at it and immediately recognized it. The old sign. The same sign that started everything. I kept it, Ethan said. Jake smiled. Why? The boy looked down at the words. Because everyone thought this sign was about finding Buddy a home. He looked up. But Buddy helped us find ours. Jake didn't say anything. He just smiled. Because after all the places he had traveled, after all the things he had seen, the greatest mission of his life happened on a rainy road beside a forgotten farmhouse. A mission nobody ordered. A mission nobody planned. A mission that started with a simple $10 sign. Years later, when people asked Jake about his proudest achievement, they expected him to mention his military career. They expected stories about bravery and sacrifice. But Jake always gave the same answer. My proudest moment wasn't something I did in uniform. It was the night I stopped my truck because of a small sign and found a family that needed someone to stop. Because sometimes heroes don't arrive with a plan. Sometimes they don't know they are heroes at all. Sometimes they are just ordinary people who choose not to look away. And sometimes, a little dog needing a home leads someone else to find theirs. Years passed, but Jake never forgot that rainy night when a simple $10 sign changed everything. The world saw a broken farmhouse, a struggling family, and a dog nobody wanted. But Jake saw something different. He saw hope waiting for someone to notice. Ethan grew up knowing that kindness could come from the most unexpected places. Lily learned that she didn't have to carry every burden alone. And Buddy became a reminder that loyalty and love can survive even the hardest storms. And every time Jake looked at that old cardboard sign hanging on his wall, he remembered one powerful truth. Sometimes the smallest moments create the biggest changes, and sometimes stopping for someone else is the moment that gives your own life a new purpose. Because heroes are not always the ones who fight the biggest battles. Sometimes they are the ones who simply choose to care when everyone else chooses to walk away.